Here he is.
Hey, Liz, can you tell us about what kind of speech?
Yeah, what's his?
It's on
What type of speech?
it's inspirational speech
They have
on how to be disciplined.
Okay, let's give Michael.
Have you ever been to a teen camp or to any other church activity and listened to a youth pastor? Well, I have. Being a missionary and pastor's boy, I did not have a choice. But now, I'm actually happy that I went to all those camps and meetings, because it gives me a chance to tell you what I have learned. I have learned what it takes to become a pastor. And after a lot of prayer and meditation, I have narrowed it all down to two main requirements. The first requirement is to have a wife. Now, this isn't just any kind of wife, but one that plays the piano, sings alto, teaches Sunday school, and that looks good at conventions. The second requirement is that you need to have a sermon. I have a sermon that I want to share with you. Don't worry, it's not long. If you want to become a pastor, then you will need a sermon similar to this one. The Lord said to Noah, He said, Noah, I want you to build me an ark, and I want you to build it out of gopher wood. And Noah says to the Lord, he says, Lord, what's gopher wood? And the Lord said to Noah, He said, Noah, shut up your silly questions and go for wood. So Noah took his axe, and he went chopping on the tallest cedars of Lebanon. But what should happen? As he's chopping, then that axe head flies off the handle and into the river Jordan. But did that axe head sink? No, it did not sink, but it began to swim. So Noah reached for that axe head, but it swam away from him. He reached for it again, but it swam away from him. So Noah called on the ravens, and the ravens brought that axe head to him. Can you say Honolulu? I said, can you say Honolulu? Honolulu! Oh, I want to go there. So Noah finishes building the ark, and he says, it's time to bring the animals on board the ark. So he brings the animals on board the ark, the elephants and the kangaroos, and he says, hold it! Hold it. I'm missing a billy goat. So he cries over all the land, I'm missing a billy goat. And who should come along at that time? But Shadrach, Meshach, and the billy goat. And he got on board the ark. And he's looking, and all the animals are on board the ark. Except for one stubborn donkey. Balaam's donkey. And he goes over to the donkey and he says to the donkey, Donkey, get on board the ark. And the donkey turned to Noah and he said, No, I ain't getting on board that ark. It ain't seaworthy. So Noah says, it's time to build an altar. And he goes down to the brook and he picks up 5 smooth stones. And he builds himself an altar. And he goes back to the donkey and he says, Donkey, if you don't get on board that ark, you're going to be the first burnt offering on this altar. Woo! Get on board. Now, all the animals were on board the ark, and the doors were shut. Noah went down to pray for rain, and sent Mrs. Noah to go look for rain. She climbs up there, and she says, I see no rain, Noah. Okay, there's no rain. So the second day, she climbs back up. I see no rain, Noah. 3rd day, 4th day, 5th day, 6th day. I see no rain, Noah. Ark's beginning to smell pretty funny right about now. Noah's on his knees interceding. And on the 7th day, she climbs up. She looks out. Oh, I see a cloud the size of a man's hand. And the rains came down and the floods came up. I said the rains came down and the floods came up. And that whole ark was tossed around like a boat. Like on the sea of the lake of Gennesaret. When what should happen? But a giant whale came and swallowed up that whole ark. And that old ark was sitting in the belly of a whale when they hear a because of the faith of all the inhabitants on the ark, they lowered Brother Jonah down, and his man was made whole. Can you say Honolulu?
Hallelujah!
Oh, I want to go there. Well, that old whale's beginning to feel a turning and a turning and a turning and a turning, and he throws up that ark on Mount Ararat. Now, on board the ark was an Ethiopian eunuch, and he says, Noah, what would hinder me from being baptized? There is much water here. So they threw open the doors and Noah steps out on the waters. And as his foot hit the waters peel back, and they're standing on dry ground. Now David and his men were marching along, and David says to his men, let us bring the ark into the city. So they go and bring the ark into the city. When who should David meet on that road to Jerusalem? But his old nemesis, Goliath. David says to Goliath, Goliath, silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. And he picked up 12 smooth stones, one for every tribe of Israel, and stoned him to death. Then he took his sword and lopped off his head. The blood that flowed that day was as high as the horse's bridle. They're nearing the city gates. I said they're nearing the city gates. When who should David meet, taunting him from that tower? By that old wicked witch, Jezebel. And David says, cast her down, and they cast her down. And she says, oh, I'll have a double portion. And they cast her down some more. 70 times 7 they cast her down. And of the fragments that remained were enough to fill 12 baskets. Now, the question that remains is, on the day of judgment, whose wife is she going to be? Now, David and his men were at the city gates, trying to get the ark through the city gates. And they tried, but it wouldn't fit through. And they tried, but it just wouldn't fit through. So David calls on Samson. And Samson comes and carries off the gates of the city. But as he did, the winds came. The winds came. Oh, how the winds came! But those gates prevailed. Then the storms came. I said the storms came. But those gates prevailed. The winds came. The storms blew. Hailstones fell. Hailstones the size of boulders and smashed the gates to dust. Dust. Because it is written, the gates will not prevail against the hail. If you want to become a great pastor, then you need to have a sermon that is similar to this one. Or at least, that is what I have been taught. You will also need a wife that can sing alto, play the piano, and that looks great at conventions. These are the 2 main requirements. I have told you all of this so that you may be inspired and go into all the world, unto all the ends of the earth, and proclaim this good news. Thank you.